Welcome to the third episode of Forever Valley, where for now there are two families living in it, the Nothings, founders of this city, and Amelie Rousseau, who is not as alone as she thinks. In the previous episode, Dave opened Stony Falls, which was an immediate hit with the tourists. Now he's invested a little more money to complete the final upgrade and bring it to level 3. Thanks to this, he has a place to fish other than the beach. For her part, Chara remains concerned about her son's imagination. Finding him dancing alone while conversing with the air isn't a good sign. She wanted to talk to her son about the matter, but despite his discomfort, he told her not to worry because what was happening was real. He recommended that she investigate, as she would surely find other cases like his. She followed his advice and searched the web until she found a forum where people were discussing the topic. Apparently, what was happening to her son wasn't that unusual, and there were many children around the world experiencing the same thing as Leon. Of course, she wouldn't believe it just because a bunch of people were talking about it on a forum. She'd have to do more research, especially since her son put himself in danger every day in his quest to make his supposed invisible friend real. While she gathered more information, she bought her son a telescope, hoping to get Leon to ease up on potions and making him promise not to make potions without any of the adults around. She didn't want to forbid him outright, as she wanted her son to continue to trust her on the matter. Despite her research, she couldn't neglect her garden. She had to spend time tending it because it was the family's main source of income. Beyond the imaginary friend problem, Chara was very proud of her oldest son, who helped out with many aspects of the house when his parents were busy gardening and fishing, especially taking care of his younger brother. The situation was overwhelming her, and she wondered if it wasn't her fault for not having been so present when he was a child. Now she's trying not to make the same mistake with Franco. After his wife told him about what she had discovered on the forums, Dave told her he'd take care of the garden so she'd have more time for research. He wasn't good with technology. In fact, he was phobic about it, so it was best if she did the research and he'd take care of the gardening. Dave began spending more time around his children, and that's when he witnessed something mysterious. Franco was playing with Leon's doll. The doll he doesn't know where it came from, but his oldest son claims he's always had. Suddenly, the toy disappeared just as Leon woke up. Later, when Dave asked him about it, Leon told him the doll form was the sleeping form of his imaginary friend. In the midst of all this, Franco's birthday arrived. The Nothings wanted to invite their neighbor, despite the awkwardness this might cause, since they were the only ones in town and believed they should foster a good relationship. Amelie thanked them, but she excused herself, saying she was feeling unwell and preferred to stay home. The couple preferred not to say that they felt relieved. Growing up as a child, Franco found that he had an affinity with books, and that he not only wanted to read them but write some as well. Franco quickly began writing books. The first one is about his experiences as a child in a nearly empty city. While listening to his brother talk with what he called his imaginary friend, he came up with an idea for his second book. He hoped Leon wouldn't be angry at him for using his situation as inspiration. Chara had her second visit from a thief in this town, which doesn't make sense, who comes all the way here to steal things of little value. There's nothing very expensive in the house. Luckily, this time the burglar couldn't steal anything, as the alarm stopped her just in time. Plus, there was a police officer patrolling the area. The thief put up a bit of resistance to arrest, but after a few punches, the policewomen were able to catch her. Franco took the situation as an opportunity. His imagination transformed the robbery into a horror story that he told his mother. This will soon become his third book. The officer watched the whole situation with some amazement. The little boy telling a story to his mother, who's putting on an over-the-top performance for her son. The teenager dancing alone carefree, and the father peacefully going back to sleep. All of them unconcerned about the near robbery they suffered. She assumes living in an empty city makes them braver than other Sims. Dave had told Chara about the mysterious experience he'd had with Leon's toy and its sudden disappearance. Now she was experiencing a similar situation. Something was keeping her from going near the stove to finish cooking, but there was nothing there. Her eyes saw only air, an empty place. But every time she tried, it seemed like there was a body there. After all the research she'd done, she knew there were many people experiencing similar things. Chara couldn't help but begin to believe that what her son was saying was true. Now that they spent more time together in the garden, thanks to Dave's help, they were able to share their concerns while they worked. Chara explained what had happened to her, and together they compared other similar situations. The conclusion was that something supernatural was happening, and they had to accept that it wasn't their son's imagination but a reality. Also, by spending more time together, the woman was able to witness the moment when her husband fulfilled his lifetime wish: have a household worth 100,000 simoleons. They're actually beyond that point, but Dave wanted to count them from the moment he changed his previous wish to the current one. This calls for a celebration of just the two of them. Now that they don't have to save up for Dave's wish, the family can start spending on things for the house, like a much-needed first car. After a long time of experimentation, Leon was able to achieve his goal: the imaginary friend metamorphium potion. But instead of giving it to Moira immediately, he decided to wait until the next day to do it in front of his parents. That way there would be no doubt about what had happened. Chara celebrated enthusiastically, as this definitively proved that her son wasn't crazy. Although they would now have another mouth to feed, it wasn't as if they couldn't afford it. Being real is something strange for Moira, but at least Leon's family has been very kind to her, even giving her their last name and registering her as their daughter. They also told her she's in no hurry to figure out what she wants to do with her life, and they let her try different things. Dave plays chess with her, something she's already experienced from all the time she played with Leon. Franco asked if he could write about her, and Moira readily agreed. It's not as if her situation is something she wants to hide. And from all the research Leon's parents did, it seems it's more common than she would have thought. But of all the things she tried, tending Chara's garden was what she enjoyed the most. There was something calming about the solitude the plants provided. Chara was more than happy to let her garden. Her children hadn't shown any interest in it, so someone wanting to do it made her feel like her garden could continue beyond her. But the best of her new life is being able to share things with other Sims besides Leon. Like eating at the table while Dave tells her which fish are good for fertilizing the garden, while both boys read alongside them and Chara plays in the background. Moira helps around the house as a way of thanking the family, and for now she enjoys the simple things. The uncertainty of her past and the mystery of how she ended up as a doll will come later. For now she's happy. And we conclude this week in this household with Chara and Franco enjoying the last day of summer outdoors. In the previous episode, Amelie met Tom Mosley and they're now spending time together. It's relaxed and no strings attached, and she's happy with it. She's still attracted to Dave, so she doesn't want to get serious with anyone right now. Tom seems to be on the same page as her, and he enjoys her company. Not just on a romantic level but also for talking about silly things and having deep conversations. She hasn't been feeling well lately, and she doesn't want to think about what the reason could be. Unfortunately, the reason for her discomfort quickly became apparent, and with none other than Tom at her house. Now she'd have to figure out what to do with the situation she found herself in. At first she focused on cleaning her house and not thinking about anything else. And if Tom thought her changing the pajamas seemed odd, he didn't say anything. He didn't seem to notice she was wearing maternity clothes. But after spending a few hours with him having fun in the rain, she knew it was time to tell him what was going on. She told him the news, feigning joy. Perhaps her performance was a bit over the top, but he seemed to have no problem with the sudden pregnancy. At least he didn't seem worried if staying with her for the rest of the day and doing their usual things was any indication. When they both felt ready, they talked about the pregnancy and realized that, as always, they were both on the same page and wanted to continue having the same relationship they had until now. The child wouldn't change the situation. Tom told her he would be there and help her not only with their child, but also with becoming the photographer she wanted to be. When his visit was over and she was left alone in the house, Amelie was relieved that there were things in her life that wouldn't change. She liked that there was no one to tell her it wasn't right to jump in a puddle in the rain in her condition. She liked to hang out in Stony Falls when she wasn't painting. The place was perfect not only for taking pictures but also for relaxing. It was where Tom usually found her, whether he visited or called to check on her. They can spend hours talking about various topics, most recently Amelie's biggest concern. The money she earns from her paintings is not much, and it's not enough to buy her watercolors if she wants to save up for clothes for the baby. But without watercolors there's no paint, so there's less money for other things. It's a vicious cycle. Tom always tells her to buy the materials she needs and he'll take care of the baby. As always, when she finishes talking to him, Amelie wonders why she couldn't fall in love with Tom. He's the man she always wanted by her side, but the mind doesn't rule the heart. And it's not that he wants anything more either. Beyond Tom's help, the woman wanted to be proactive and look for other ways to make money. Walking around looking for rocks doesn't seem like the best option with her large stomach, but she didn't have to go far from home to find them. In the blink of an eye, Forever Valley's newest resident was ready to arrive. Amelie might have been scared of giving birth alone in the middle of a nearly empty city, but that wasn't the case. Despite the pain, the moment passed more quickly than she expected, and so her son was born. She named him Andre after her grandfather, and he was the most beautiful boy in the world. She may be biased, but that doesn't stop it from being the truth. She shared her joy with her followers, of course. Her blog is slowly gaining fame and she couldn't help but share the most important event in her life. But the person she most wanted to share the news with was Tom, who arrived as quickly as possible once Amelie told him her son had been born. It's fun competing with Tom to see who grabs Andre first when he wants his parents' attention. Of course, Amelie always wins. She began to realize that most of the time they spend together isn't romantic. It's as if, since the pregnancy news, their relationship has slowly transformed into a friendship. She's strangely fine with that. Now that she has a little one depending on her, Amelie began to realize that her dream of traveling the world taking photos of the most exotic places isn't so feasible, and that it's time to rethink her goals. Photography is still a passion of hers, and little by little she discovered that, despite not being an artist, she also enjoys painting. So her newfound wish to master both skills seems like the right fit. There was a visitor in the house and Amelie tried to befriend it. Perhaps it would be good for Andre to have a pet. But the cat, free as it had been until now, didn't want to stay long. Speaking of friends, the woman went to visit her neighbors to introduce her son. A few days earlier she'd been invited to Franco's birthday party, but she'd excused herself by saying she felt ill. The reality wasn't so far off. At the time she was still pregnant and her feet were very swollen, so she just wanted to rest. Dave came out to greet her and invite her in, and she couldn't help feeling the butterflies in her stomach. Despite all the time that had passed, she still felt attracted to him. She already knew she wouldn't get anywhere with him, the man made that very clear. But his friendly demeanor only made her infatuation with him even more intense. Inside the house, the family greeted her kindly, but the situation was awkward, and seeing that everyone was busy doing something, she limited herself to introducing her son and saying that she couldn't stay when Chara invited her to dinner. Spending some time alone with his son was better. Photographing things and places is her passion. Photographing her own child? It's love. That portrait has a place of honor in her humble home. Just when she felt she had everything figured out, she received an unexpected letter from Tom. How could she have misread Tom's intentions so wrong? She was so sure he felt the same way about their situation. Now she had to tell him she isn't in love with him. And she had to do it without breaking his heart. She loves him, but not the way he wants. The next time she saw him was for her son's birthday. He greeted her the way she told him they did in France. The way he'd grown accustomed to doing it. Nothing seemed different about him. She didn't say anything about the letter for the moment. but she knew she couldn't pretend she hadn't received it. He was the one who delivered the mail in the city after all. He acted as if nothing had happened, celebrating in the background while Amelie pretended it was their son blowing out the candles. When they ate the cake together, he didn't say anything important either, only talking about mundane things. What was going on? Was he waiting for her to say something? Amelie didn't know what to think. When their son cried for attention, he quickly got up to attend to him, leaving Amelie in the middle of a breakdown. What would she do now? The letter existed, she had it as proof, but he didn't say anything. Amelie didn't know what to do now. She would have to think hard about how to talk to Tom. But not today, not on her son's birthday.
That is for today's episode. Thanks for watching. I'm speaking in my own voice to express my gratitude for the support the series is receiving. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm so bad at this. But well, until next time, bye.